Hey everyone, my name is Kevin, aka Touring Around, and you are watching the Boba Squadron recap, the Disney Plus series Star Wars Visions Vol2. It's available on streaming now on Disney Plus starting May the 4th. If this is your first time tuning into the channel, the Boba Squadron consists of Ernie here, Paul, and Yoko. And after every Disney Plus Star Wars TV show, we do a live stream recap here on the channel. So hopefully you like this video and you can follow, subscribe, and check out more content in the future. Myself and the Boba Squadron here were fortunate enough to get some early screeners ahead of time so that we can talk to you about it, the audience, on May 4th. That's when this is happening. Well, Yoko, Paul, Ernie. Well, Paul, I don't know, like, of the four of us, do you see a lot of screeners ahead of time? Was this like a cool experience to watch Visions early?
Yeah, no, it was. I don't get a lot of screeners early, surprisingly enough. Although I have been getting screeners. I just joined SAG, so like they just had their award season, and so like I got a lot of the for your consideration. And I've never received so many screeners of different shows before, so I didn't get a chance to see them all, and all of them actually like we subscribe to the services where they're available for, so they were completely unnecessary to send us the discs. But to get advance, screenings for Visions was new, and to have that big watermarked your email right across wasn't distracting at all. Trying to watch this,
Yeah,
because part of Visions is the visual sort of experience, the different styles that are there, and when you have that big ass watermark Gmail address up there, it kind of takes away from it. But I mean, hey, it was great to get an early peek at it. You feel like you're part of an exclusive club, which is great. And yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed this experience.
Yoko, how about you?
I don't know. I don't think I've gotten to screen anything early before either, but I had the same thought about the watermark. I'm like, I get why it's there.
I'm sorry. I'll choose a shorter email next time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Could you? That'd be great.
1@123.com.
No, they'll just
check if that's available.
They'll just blow it up.
Make it
even
bigger.
Screen.
Yeah.
They'll have it scrolling from the bottom up like the Star Wars classic scroll.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was a lot of fun for all of us. We're going to do our best for everyone. Ernie, how about you?
Off the record, like I've seen screeners before, but I'm not supposed to see those screeners. So yeah, but this was different when it was actually giving it to me. So yeah, that was really cool. And then talk about feeling special, Paul. Like I was out in public, like in a parking lot, because Corinne had to run an errand. I'm like, I only have one chance to see these, and so I took my phone with me and some good AirPods and everything. And so as I'm sitting there, if somebody walked by, I'm doing the excuse me. Can you? Yeah.
And immediately they're like, some dude's watching porn in the car in the parking lot.
I didn't even think of that.
Like he's hiding the screen, but we all know what he's watching.
Cop comes knocking on the window.
Yeah.
Sure, it's Vision, sir.
You're like,
Step
no,
out
I'm
of the
allowed to
vehicle,
have
please.
this time.
Officer, I'm watching Star Wars. It's a screener.
Yeah. Man, I didn't even think of that. Instead, I was trying to be Mr. Cool Guy. And I was like, keep your eyes off my phone. Screener only. Do you see the Gmail?
Science folder.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. In an alternate universe, someone was busted for watching pornography on their phone and said to the cop, no, it's Star Wars, I swear. and somehow it might have worked.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's so cool to be able to not only to watch them early, but to have a chance to talk about the episodes with all three of you, and of course share that with everyone here on YouTube. So I want to thank everyone for clicking on this video. We're going to go through each of the 9 episodes and prepare for spoilers. Hopefully you've seen this already. It's streaming now on Disney Plus. Probably should have led with that. Streaming now on Disney Plus, May the 4th. So tonight, what we're going to do in this video is talk about each episode in Visions Volume 2, which is streaming now on Disney Plus. So if you haven't watched it yet, this is your spoiler warning. Bookmark this video, head over to Disney Plus, watch. It's 9 episodes, 15-ish minutes on average, so 2 hours. Come back to this video. We're going to talk about each episode, and then hope you enjoy and have a good time. Okay, jumping into the first episode, it is called Sith by El Guri Studios. Paul, Yoko, and Ernie, I'm just going to give a quick recap for everybody, and then we can jump in like, the highlights and things that stood out for each of us in this episode. You can tell from the poster art here released by Disney. This is the style of art through the whole episode. It's this person with a robotic arm. It starts off cool already, and just using her force powers for art, and it's just beautifully done the whole episode. She has a cool little droid rolling around with her, and the fight scenes. Again, I don't know. I'm trying to be vague. Like, there are spoilers in this live stream, but the other Sith that come looking for her at the end, where it's just absolutely a crazy start to the first volume. Yoko, let's start with you. What are your thoughts on this episode?
I want to jump straight to a spoiler. I think this episode had the coolest lightsaber that we see in the whole volume 2. Have you seen a lightsaber like that before? I don't think so, right?
No, I agree. That was great.
I think
It was a shock too.
Yeah.
I loved how it curved, like the blade itself. Like, usually when they have the lightsabers, other than the dark saber, for example, it's always been just a straight sort of line, whereas this one had the curve initially of the katana, and then when it opened up and had the dual blade, I thought it was fantastic. So,
Yeah.
I think
It was amazing.
even starting from season 1, they've been really unique with the designs on trying to make their lightsabers look different, and I think that's the cool part of doing these shorts from animation studios overseas, just letting all the styles from everywhere, not even just influence, but completely take over the whole story from end to end. I think it's really cool series for Disney and Star Wars to really put out for fans.
Yeah, no, the art style. I mean, it's quite striking right from the right from the get go, as you can see from the poster. Just visually, very, very stunning. The use of the contrast between the absence of color and then the explosion of color really sort of caught my eye. I do like that style of animation that they employed in this. Having seen it in other different movies like Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse. Like, I really do love the integration of all these different stylistic choices. And this one was just like, I think there are moments where it looked like sketch art that was barely colored in, and then other moments it was just this full kaleidoscope, just a visual smorgasbord. And I love the designs too, like the little droid that follows her, E2, I believe, that follows around, very reminiscent of a separatist battle, like one of the separatist crab droids that they had. I love how all the droids always have a personality in these things too. So the charm, like even though stylistically it looked different, but it was still felt very much in universe in terms of the themes and the stories that are going on. And I love the fact that you often see, Jedi's being corrupted into Sith, but you don't see it going the other way. Not to say that she was a Jedi, but for somebody to say, I am no longer a Sith, and actively want to break away from that, I really liked seeing that flip side of the coin as well. And the use of art, like she's trying to make art. And this is one of the recurring themes, is that you can't have one side without the other. That's part of the entire equation. There's a light side and a dark side. And I really love the exploration of that, and the discovery of the fact that, this is a part of everything, right? You just cannot erase it completely. It's got its place here, and it's what you do with it. And so I really enjoyed this. I thought it was a really first strong episode to kick off the series with.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Especially like seeing more Sith come after her, or I assume they're all Sith, right? Some of them are Sith-like robots to come and try and bring her back. It's a really different story to visually see. Ernie, what about you, man?
Yeah, this was so good. I loved that we got these early. The only thing I missed was I wish we could have all watched it together, like a watch party or something, because I was looking for all you guys to talk to like immediately off the get-go. So what a great first episode. Because as you mentioned that, Paul, I was like, Paul's going to catch that, because I felt that too about the droid. He looked just like the big ones from the Clone Wars and everything of them fighting. I was like, is that what they're representing? It was so cool. But to me, being older, this reminded me a lot of something that you would see on MTV. Had a show called Liquid Television, and they showed different animation styles and like that. They showed like Eon Flux and different types of stuff. And this really out the gate just reminded me of that, with the the color splashing everywhere and like that. It was so cool, and it brought me in. And then that Sith, man, that was like nightmarish. Like, he was very, very cool and immediately grabbed me when they showed him, and I was like, oh, okay. And like Paul already hit the reverse of her saying that, and I do love the color of black being the representation of the Sith and how it showed up, and from the footprints to like everything that she touched or anything, it was there trying to still like grab a hold of her, but it wasn't. She was fighting with the color. So after this one, I was locked in. I couldn't wait to start the next episode. So I think that has a lot to do when you show the like first episode with it. It really grabbed me and pulled me in immediately. So I loved it.
You just reminded me too. I wonder if that was supposed to kind of mirror Ahsoka when she said, "I am no Jedi." When
Right.
with this I forget her name, but the protagonist saying, "I'm no Sith."
As we
instantly thought of Ahsoka. Yeah.
As we get into more, all of these episodes really reminded me of something, and I loved how they did that, because it was still their own style, but yet you could compare it to something else like that, like the Ahsoka quote, and be like, oh, okay. And that just furthers you into this new story that you're seeing, because we know some other type of it, like a different definition of it. But here's a perfect example of a way to make it new and fresh. And oh my God, it was so good. I loved it.
I just also want to point out the wheel bike that she got on.
Oh,
the General Grievous
Yeah.
style.
Yes.
So again, you go back to the old Clone Wars days where you have that influence. So it makes me wonder what time period is this story set in? Right? Like, is it
what I wanted?
Wars? Is it after?
I wanted to question the artists who did this. Did they grow up with Clone Wars, and now is their chance, right, to do these type of films? And like, okay, like A New Hope is close to us, the OGs, right? So same for them. That's what I grew up with. This is the style that I'm doing. Yeah, because those bikes were cool. I do want to mention every episode of season 2 has a speeder bike in it, some different interpretation of it, and I love that. That was awesome. Yeah.
Bernie, you told me you had no notes, but it's all in here.
It's all
in here. I didn't even catch that. But Yoko had mentioned, the correlation with an Ahsoka quote. If you want to hear more about Ahsoka when the TV show airs, finally, make sure you subscribe to this channel. We will be talking about it every week here. And of course, on Yoko's Twitch stream, pulled up Paul and made a weird Twitch reference. And Yoko's Twitch channel, she'll be streaming every midnight 30 after an episode airs every week. Moving on to episode 2, Screecher's Reach by Cartoon Saloon. Awesome name. We start off with it's like a factory worker or a mine worker. Just the opening scene is really cool, because you start from you look at different levels of this workforce and factory that they're working out of, and it reminds me of my friend Jason Lowe's art, where he's able to build out like a whole world in sections in one single frame. So you follow that to the top, and you find your 4 main character. Well, your main character and her 4 and 3 friends. She discovers a calling based on a necklace that she has. She follows it to find a hidden Sith who she defeats, and it turns out that her necklace was another Sith, Lord, Knight, Sith, calling out to her in a really, really cool ship. Just another wonderful story. For a moment, when the evil Sith lady was in the cave, I was like, okay, not really for me. But then it just turned everything around afterwards when she got the Kyber crystal and the lightsaber. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to watch, and a really kind of sadish ending. Paul, what did you think of this one?
Yeah, no, same thing. It's really interesting, like the variations in terms of the different sort of narratives and storytelling, because sometimes it takes a little bit longer to get into an episode for me. So not this particular one, because it was the second one off and I was watching it and I was just I was really engaged. And the one thing I really love about all of these is the different voices that they use, the different languages that are really apparent, which I really loved. And in this one too, it's like you hear that wonderful Irish sort of lilt as they go through, and you're I'm listening to it, but like and the tying into like the banshees, right? Screechers, banshees, and the fact that it's a Sith, and that she ends up destroying it, and then ends up going with the spoiler alert, going with the Sith master who takes the main character away. And for me, it was like I kind of thought, oh my god, is season 2 all about the Sith? Is that what they're exploring? And the one thing that I again that it suddenly dawned on me, it's the duality of the dynamic between the light and the dark side. Just as the Jedi were going around scoping out and gathering younglings who were force sensitive, the Sith must have been doing the same thing too, right? And so to see this side of it as well, and what qualities are the Sith looking for? Obviously, desire, fear, all these things. I mean, the main protagonist in this story, I forget her name. They come from a very, very harsh sort of environment where there's child labor, and they have to escape. And she wants to get away from this horrible place, and like her only ticket out, like that's how bad the place is, that she would go with a Sith Lord or a Sith Master to get away from it, right? And so yeah, there's a lot of really interesting things, and she dispatches of that the Banshee who's been trapped by that rock. She kills her, and has the lightsaber, and the Sith Master says, "Well, that's yours now." Right. And it's so like that for me, like that whole dynamic, seeing it on the other side from a different point of view, I thought was, for me, if it was going to be a telltale sign of the way the rest of the season was going, kind of had me I was all in, saying, okay, I like these themes. I like exploring that duality.
That's a cool point. I never considered that, really, which is, it's right in your face. The Jedi were going around recruiting people to, children, force sensitive children, to join the order, but at the same time the Sith were also
kidnapping. But yeah,
kidnapping, but right.
Yeah.
So it's just how it's phrased for everyone. So, yeah,
right. And is it the good guys, bad guys is the only difference, right, between between recruited and kidnapped.
Aggressive recruitment,
right?
But the Sith Lord gave this character like the choice, right? Like
kind of.
I kind of felt like if she wanted to stay, she would have.
She was like Luke. She was willing to do almost anything to get off the planet because it was just so miserable there, right? Now she's just like, look, I like when she's having that conversation with her friends. It's like there are worse lives in this, and they're better lives, and like two of them talking about, like how far they would be willing to go to get off the planet, like what kind of life they would go for. I thought that was kind of like, Luke was going to join the Imperial Academy.
Yeah, like I wonder if she thinks, like, does she know what she's getting herself into? Probably not. Like, does she just know it's some like magical, powerful person that's giving her this opportunity? Does she know she's following a Sith? Does she think it's a Jedi? I don't know. You sense that uncertainty there at the end, though, when she does, because her whole thing was don't look back, and then she did look back at her friends.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe questioning if she made the right decision.
Anything else that you picked up on the episode?
Sorry, I guess I kind of felt for this character, she felt kind of guilty because and correct me if I'm wrong, did she not say "and my friends too"? And then no, just you.
Yeah.
Your friends have to stay behind. And I think she felt guilt because she's like, well, I'm gone because I need to get out of here. And she felt guilty that her friends weren't going. So I think maybe that's why she was looking back, or that's the sense that I got. Not that she was uncertain about going with the Sith, other than the fact that she had to leave her friends behind.
Yeah.
You know, I think that was the only thing she felt like really guilty. It's like, I'm so sorry. I'm going off. I'm escaping. I'm so sorry. Goodbye.
Yeah.
And I think she just felt guilty that she didn't stay with everybody
I think
else.
that too is just, but they had that conversation about, hey, if you have an opportunity, don't look back. Right? Like that was a conversation they had. And then they make a point of her looking back. And that's how it closed, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And see, this is what's great about this season too, is I do agree it's like about the Sith. And then I do think it's about interpretation, because a lot of these episodes did reach out to me too. Like I can understand why she went, right? It did look like child labor, and that she was, you know, she has her friends and everything. And she did do that look the first time of like, well, sorry, I got to go with her. And it is a matter, I think, of what you think that you're getting into. You know, they didn't know, like you said, did she know that she was Sith or Jedi?
Why are we assuming she was a Sith too?
Don't know. The red, I guess, the Kyber crystal, that's what we always go to.
I mean, is that it? Just because the thing was shining red?
Yeah, that's what I always do. She said too that it was the old lady was a Sith something.
Right.
In the credits it was listed as the Sith mother.
Yeah,
if you look at the credits,
yeah. And then what shocked me was the point when I even like cussed openly out when you heard the sound of her killing the old lady, and then she was like, "Real?" I couldn't believe that. That like shocked me, because I was just like, "Oh, you know," when you heard it, and I was like, "Ooh," and then I was literally in shock, and I was like, "Okay." And then she says the thing of it's real, almost like if she thought this was all in her head, or that's what she was led to believe, was kind of like, you know, I'm facing my demons or something, and this is always played out with me. And then all of a sudden she has a body in front of her, and she's like, hey, you get to keep the lightsaber, which is crazy. And now it's a matter of also of, okay, you can choose this life and come with me and leave your friends, or you stay here. And that was pretty crazy, because I all feel we've all had to make that choice sometimes of, we really don't want to, but we have to for the better of some things, whether it may be the friends or you yourself or whatever it is. Nobody wants to make that choice, but she obviously did something, and now she has to play it out to see what happens.
It's like when you were younger and that one friend forgot to bring their ID and couldn't get into the club, and you're like, they can't come in. Sorry, man.
You toss in the keys in the car,
and then you look back. I mean, do you go in or do you stay with them outside? The next one is one of my favorites from season 2 or volume 2, called In the Stars by Punk Robot Studio. It follows the story of these two sisters here who are on a planet that the Empire has taken over, has drained them of their resources like water, polluted the planet, and they're just trying to survive, find a way to tell their story, which is through using the Force and painting again. And these Force powers allow them to pass down their stories on paintings, on rocks and whatnot, only when there's visible moonlight, which with the sky and the pollution from the Empire is blocking. So it's when you look at the artwork on this poster, you think like, oh, it's kind of cute, but then there's some great fight scenes and adventure and suspense of them breaking into an Imperial facility, and just a heartwarming ending at the end, and one of my favorites of volume 2. Ernie, how was this one for you?
Dude, this one was cool, because I do like they didn't change the Empire, right? Like we had a chicken walker, we had what looked like from Hoth, the snowtroopers.
Yeah, they had snowtroopers.
They're snowies.
But they weren't. And then it was just the fight scenes, like you said, it was so cool. And this one of a callback to trying to get you to connect on me. This girl reminded me of the one from Rebels who was with Thrawn. Did that to you guys too? I couldn't remember her name.
The Imperial lady.
Yeah, with the short hair.
Her name is Price.
Governor Price?
That's
Governor
what it
Price.
was.
Yeah.
This reminding me of her, like if it was a different interpretation of her. So connected me right away even more, and I like that. I was like, oh, okay. And to see that the pollution of the empire was covering everything, they took their water and they were just trying to survive. And then too, I have a little brother, so I was laughing at this the whole time, especially because they don't listen. So as this was going on, like I was already calling it out, like she's not going to listen. Oh my god, there she is.
Yep.
Oh man, she's messing it up. So I was fully engaged on that part of just, man, why don't kids listen?
Yeah.
So it was good though. I enjoyed it a lot.
That happens several times, I think, in this season. I remember
Yeah.
watching that. It's the exact same scene. I know what you're talking about. She's getting into the boat on the beach, and she's like, "Stay here, don't go." And I said to myself, if that was my son, he would be like trying to swim right behind me, thinking that I wouldn't see him. Like, if you thought
Yeah.
your little brother was like that, I guarantee, like, my son would have done the exact same thing. Sure enough. But I like that water tank that she had. To go and try to steal water. It just kind of like it's like the old super soaker backpack that you would wear. It was a water tank that you could wear on your back with the gun on the front, and they use that to suck up water. It was so cool.
Yeah, again, the exploration of these different themes of light and darkness too, right? When and water literally being life on different levels as well, right? Like she, instead of drinking the water, she says, "I'm going to paint." She says, "You don't waste it," and she uses the paint to sort of bring these stories to life. And the fact that when the water is being sort of subverted and exploited, and all the pollution and the moonlight is cut off, and all the stories are dying and the people are dying. I really loved how that mirrored the older sister, the way she was denying the stories and wanted to stay away from because memories were too painful and whatnot, and then finally having to sort of break through that and reach out and use those force powers in order to save her sister. I thought were fantastic, and how that all sort of went hand in hand. And when they finally did defeat, destroy that base, and the skies opened up, and how all the stories came to life again was just again really, really wonderful bite-sized storytelling that's very efficient, that's very heartwarming. Like, I mean, 15 minutes isn't a lot, and they pack a lot of heart into this story in particular that I found quite endearing, because it did have all those different levels in terms of the relationship there that they represented. And again, that link to your past, who you are, the stories that you tell. There's another one later on that I really quite loved, and I think it's near the end, and we'll get to it. But again, it's about not denying what's inside of you and following that voice. I really quite like that.
You're right, man. They're short episodes, and short self-contained episodes, but they pack a punch. I was almost in tears in one of the other episodes. It's crazy. Yoko, what'd you think of this one?
This little girl annoyed me. It reminded me of Lilo and Stitch minus Stitch. Like, I just feel so much for the older sister. She's trying her best. The little girl won't listen, wastes her water, drinks the rest of her water, and then is sad that there's no more water, then gets them all in trouble. Just like, God.
But if she wasn't like that, then they wouldn't have discovered, they wouldn't have beat the base. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
I get that's the point. I was still annoyed.
I was worried.
I felt for the older sister, is all I'm saying. She's trying her best, She doesn't know. She didn't sign up to be a mom. She got stuck being a mom. And she's doing her
Thank
best.
you, Yoko. Nobody's ever told me that before. And I was just trying to watch out for my brother. Because it does feel like that. I get what you're saying.
Yeah. But the end, I thought the end was cool with, like, I think it's kind of a swerve, right? Like, you think she's trying to pull the walker, and then the Imperial lady's like, nothing's happening, what are you guys doing? And then it's the whole thing behind her.
Were you worried
That
when that happened and they released all the water from the facility, and I'm like, well, now all that water is contaminated? Or was there so much that the Empire took that, like, the ratio of contamination once it pours back out, like, I guess it's acceptable, and at least the vegetation was instantly growing back? That's all. It's. I mean, I know it's a 18-minute episode, but I was worried that's just all the water that you can't drink now.
Well, maybe that was like the people in the stars helping clean everything up too. That's kind of the vibe I got. I thought like now that it got cleared, like the whole like, oh, we're not alone, right? Because now they had their help.
The Force.
Maybe?
Yeah, and then they had too, like Paul put it, it was life. Like it brought back life immediately.
Yeah.
You know, the flowers, and we get to see the paintings and everything. So yeah, but if you want to get technical, Kevin, I do have a treatment 2 certification, and it was good. Once it hits the earth and goes back in, okay, you're all right.
What, did you just eyeball that? Is that how you do it at work?
Yeah, I saw. Yeah, and you dip your finger in. Ah, we're fine.
Episode 4. It's called "I Am Your Mother." Do I have this right? Ardman.
Aardman.
Aardman.
Yeah, same studio that does that did Wallace and Gromit and Chicken Run.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, Pirates as well. They use the claymation style.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's got that claymation style, but you know, I was sitting there watching. Did they fully claymate each of these episodes for the series, or is it just like a style of CGI that looks like claymation in 2023?
I think it's CGI assisted now.
Yeah.
Because you don't see the fingerprints
Ah.
anymore.
Is claymate a real word?
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
Claymation. So to claymate, yeah. To claymate. That is the verb version of the noun claymation. I did like the animation style. Paul, who was the special guest character, would you say in this episode that Star Wars fan will recognize?
Wedge Antilles.
Yes.
Actually voiced by Dennis Lawson too, if you looked at the credits. So that was the actual actor who portrayed Wedge Antilles, at least one of the Wedge Antilles, the main Wedge Antilles. And yeah, so he did his own voice, which was fantastic. I thought that was a really nice touch and an interesting sort of nod to the original trilogy, because he seemed, that Wedge Antilles seemed very, very bent on selling packages to parents for his
merch.
personal academy. And I thought, I don't know if the real Wedge Antilles would have done that. So this must be post-Empire, right? It's got to be post-Empire, because
he's not
running a flight academy during the middle of a galactic civil war.
having races for fun.
Yes, exactly.
With a kid and parent race day. It's like, aren't all of you rebels? Like, you can't. Yeah.
Well, it was almost like the last Starfighter. So whoever wins, guess what? You get to go immediately. You're in. There's a war going on, and we need you up there now.
So this episode follows a young Twi'lek pilot who is. You start off. You can see inside her home. It's kind of like a messy place, and she's being taken care of by her pilot mother. They have a really cool droid, which is kind of like a slinky dog, astromech slinky dog, which is really cool. And she is embarrassed to go partake in the school's race. It's like a parent, I almost said parent teacher, a student parent race competition. And she's just, sometimes I think we've all kind of been there, embarrassed by something from home that we don't want to share with other kids at school. And so she never told her mom about this race. And through a series of events, the mother shows up and they end up winning the school race. Ernie, you are expert in Star Wars. Why are you laughing?
I thought you were going to say you are an expert at having your children embarrassed about having you around.
Right?
What did you think about this?
Yeah.
No.
How many times did you not get invited to school events? Well, Kevin, there was a lot. The first dance was...
Somehow this video is just going to be therapy.
For everybody. Yeah, it was. So, like, really felt for her. She was just trying to bring her lunch that she forgot, and then she's in it. Yeah, it was.
That's exactly it.
No, I was expert of what?
An expert of Star Wars undergarments. When the mom showed up,
even better.
When the mom showed up and like a brassiere fell from the sky.
Yeah,
I'm just like.
Oh yeah, I thought there were no bras in space.
Is that the first time we've seen that?
Yeah. Yes, it was. Yeah, because of what Yoko said. That's what Lucas said.
They're canon now.
Yeah,
That's what
they
George
are.
Lucas told Carrie Fisher, right?
You know the best
There's
part
no
too
underwear. Yeah.
was that the daughter recognized it and knew. Like she's like, oh no,
Right
my
away.
mom's here. Yeah, she knew, which was great.
Yeah, the junker of a ship shows up, and her laundry. It's also their home. I think it's like her clothesline from outside. All the clothes are hanging. Just because mom, it's like, sweetheart, you forgot your lunch
Yeah.
at home. The lunch was pretty cool too, because it's like that ray kind of expanding
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
space food, and it's got this deformed face once it expanded. It's like, but she shows up, and they show a hollow video of them. When the daughter was younger, and that they would pilot together and do things like that. So it was a nice memory that they showed, and they end up teaming up to win. It was almost like a pod race. It's supposed to be kids at school, but they were like ramming into each other, trying to knock each other out of the race
With their families.
I know. With
Yeah.
Right.
Right? So it's like not just a student. You could wipe out an entire family line with one well-placed blaster shot. Right?
Good job.
What did you think about the episode overall?
Oh, I'm a huge fan of Aardman Studios, right back from the old Wallace and Gromit days. They have a very particular sense of humor, which I really appreciate, and it's all in the details. Like when we're talking about the brassiere falling down and whatnot, what struck me in that scene was when it does land, there's that clothing line, there's a pair of Y fronts, like the tighty whities that are still just hanging on that line there, just that one pair of white underwear, which always cracks me up. But it's those little touches as well, like the Wookiees, like the one kid, the pilot that's doing it, and he's so excited he rips the control yoke out, and that's how they get flamed out of the race and stuff. One of the things, just to be a little bit more serious though, that I really enjoyed was, the protagonist in this story, she's kind of ashamed of where she came from, right? She's embarrassed about her mom. She's embarrassed about her stature, the family sort of stature in life. She's embarrassed because the rich kids, mom, they've won the race year after year and this and that. And she just doesn't want to be teased. But what I really loved is, like a lot of these stories, because it is about self-discovery, when she looks and she finds, she sees the love her mom has for her, and she realizes she's been unfair and whatnot. And she really sort of leans into, this is where we're from, and this is what we have, and this is what I'm going to use. I really enjoyed that. It is, because that kind of mirrors my own personal journey growing up too, right? For years, I was kind of embarrassed by my parents too, simply because we were Asian. We were Korean, and I didn't want to be Korean. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be one of those normal kids. And I wasted so much energy doing that and leaning, like fighting against that. And it's like, when I leaned into it and like really started to appreciate my parents and where I came from, that's when things started to be really positive and start working for me. And so like, I really like that, the theme of that, of just sort of like, your family's your family, and you can feel certain ways about them. But really at the end of the day, the love that they have for you can take you to so many different places and can propel you to the forefront. And so, yeah, like I really love the charm of this episode. There were like a lot of little humorous moments there that were just kind of that are very Aardman-esque, but still fit within the Star Wars universe. And again, there's supposed to be no bras in space, and yet here we had one. And so now they're canon, thanks to Aardman.
Yoko, how about you?
Well, first I have a side note. Paul, you talking about, being embarrassed of being Asian, and now you're on Disney Plus's posters for AAPI month,
Right?
being that
are you?
representation for a new generation. Like, that's
Hell
so cool,
yeah.
right? That's so cool that you get to be that for someone else now. So I think that's cool.
No. I'm just as
I didn't see that. Congrats, Paul.
Yeah, thank you. I just found out myself by accident too. Nobody tells me anything. I saw it on Twitter. I was like, oh my God, what the hell? So
cool.
somebody sent it to me, and it's just like, wow, it's flattering. It's so flattering to do that. And thank you, Yoko. Because it's something that, I think when I was a kid, I didn't have people like like that to sort of look up to
Yeah.
and to be proud of, right? And so we've come a long way. We've come a long way, and I'm really, really happy that I'm no longer fighting those demons type thing, right? And that
Yeah.
it's you come from where you come from, and never be ashamed of that. So very happy.
Love that.
For me though, for this episode, I'm gonna say I still liked it. But I think it was my least favorite of volume 2, and for the same reason, my least favorite one from volume 1. It's the same reason why I didn't like these as much, and I think it's because like the little winks and nods to like real Star Wars, that we know is fun, like with Wedge. But for me, like I think what I really enjoy about Visions is when it's a completely different world, in a different, inspired by a different country. They look different, they sound different, and I think that's what makes it really cool when they kind of do this side story in a world or with characters that we kind of already know. It doesn't have the same effect on me. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say? So like in volume 1, it was that one where are they in Tatooine? Which one was it? With the band?
Pod race?
Yeah. Like that one, I was kind of
Corvette.
like, because it's like that we know that Star Wars world, and so it seemed really out of place, and it didn't really work for me, right? In volume 1, and it was kind of that for me with this one, with volume 2. Is like what you were saying about like that doesn't seem like Wedge, right? Like it just didn't totally fit in with what we already know, and I'd rather these episodes take me somewhere completely else. And that was why I didn't like this one as much. But I think it was cute. I really like how it was done, and I love all the little. I wanted to go back and look at all the things inside their little house.
Mm-hmm.
Like the ships that were hanging. I think she had a poster of Hera.
I think they had a
On her wall.
poster. It was weird. It was the same as my email address.
That
Across
was
their
just
house.
all the way across it. Yeah.
Did you guys
How was
see that?
that?
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Ernie, what about you, man?
Yeah, I liked it. It was good. I totally get what Yoko was saying though, because it's it's very familiar. And so you're just watching maybe like another Disney Plus episode of some type of side cartoon. But I love the style that it was done in, because a lot of people like don't know about claymation and how hard it is and everything that goes into it. And the humor that company has is like Paul called out, I love the little chuckling all the time. There's just little instances where you chuckle at different stuff, like the ripping of the arms and the mom. The mom was just very funny, and what I liked about that was there was no difference between the mom and her, because it was like the mom believed in her the whole time, and I think that's great to show for people. She didn't question it. She was like, we're in this race. We are racing. And when she was her by herself, that the mom had to go out, she left her there. She believed in her daughter that she could do it, which was very cool point to me, was that when you show the rich side of it, the uppity one, and she was like, you better win this. We've been winning this. And it's kind of more of that, what you go through as far as always being expected to be the best one. And in this one, the mom was like, go for it. I know what you're capable of, and you can do it. And that was cool to see that part of it. But I really did enjoy it a lot. And it was funny because I thought we were getting an Easter egg of Carson's helmet when I saw him holding it. Like I didn't even notice how it was, and I was like, oh, is that Paul's helmet? And then as he gets into that, I'm Wedge. I was like, oh, there's the answer right there. That's cool.
Speaking of looking for Paul, episode 5, Journey to the Dark Head by Studio MIR. This one threw me for a loop initially because there were no subtitles automatically. So I messaged Yoko and I said, Yoko, is there no subtitles and audio change for this? And what language is this? Because I wrongly assumed that it was Japanese and that Yoko would know. And then Yoko and I went on a little back and forth, like, she's like, I'm pretty sure it's not Japanese.
I know. I was assuming, I thought it was Japanese too. And I was like, why don't I understand anything? I'm like, how bad did my Japanese get suddenly?
Right.
And then it occurred
because
to me.
it wasn't Japanese.
It was not Japanese at all, and I felt much better about myself.
And then I said, we need another Asian in here. I'm like, Paul, I need your help on episode 5.
Yep. And I listened, and it was, but to be fair, it is Korean, but it's very Japanese sounding Korean.
It is,
like,
right?
Yeah, it's so it's like Koreans trying to talk with a Japanese accent. Like that's like the intonation and the inflection of it is very, very anime style or very Japanese style, because I was like listening going, this sounds like, I know it's Korean, but they sound Japanese just in terms of it didn't have
very
the tone.
confusing.
Yeah, the meter of it, and it was just like, maybe this is Korean anime, like this is how they sound in Korean anime, but it was definitely 100% Korean. And there were moments where it's like, okay, now they're speaking Korean, because it's like that's the rhythm and the intonation and stuff. It's like this is Korean. So because some of it was just like, it's like just the way they were sounding. It was like, that sounds so Japanese. So
yeah, I was trying to piece it together, and I'm like, I thought I heard something that might be in Korean, and I played it to my wife. I'm like, you watch a lot of K-dramas. What does this sound like to you? And she actually said, it's Korean. Happy AAPI month, everybody. Ernie's like, I'm going to be quiet over here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not saying a word.
It's like, why did nobody call me?
Yeah, Kevin and I were like, wait, did Ernie not have a problem with this episode?
Yeah, Ernie.
Was he scared to ask?
I did. I fully knew it was Korean. I've been trying to learn myself. So I was like, wow, how did you guys assume that it was just Japanese? Because it was anime?
Wow. We got you, Ernie.
Yeah.
Actually, Ernie, we got you, because this was all an elaborate ruse. He's actually speaking Cantonese.
Dang it.
In it, and we just wanted to see how you would respond. And you fell into the trap. You're like, of course it was Korean. I've been learning Korean. Dude, man, it was Cantonese.
He wanted to surprise you, Paul, with his Korean.
I needed it for the Paul Shrine. I'm trying to work on a voice box here, so when people visit it, I need all different languages here.
Prayers.
Yeah. See the prayers, make sure everything. I need all the help I can get. So yeah, I want to make sure. I also too assumed that it was Japanese anime. That's what I had thought. That's what I had told Corinne. I was like, wow, this one I said is probably one of my favorites that I like. And I said, I'm going to get so much for it, because a lot of the guys on the other shows that I do, like all the toy shows and everything like that, a big part of it is everybody watches anime, and I don't watch anime. It's not something for me. So for me to say like, oh my gosh, this was so good, I know I'm going to hear about it, because it's like, you don't even like anime. And here it was this one was, wow.
And then you're like, well, why am I learning Korean?
Yeah. I think that's fair though, Ernie, because to me, this one looked like, when I think of what anime looks like this one is the closest to what that isn't.
And me being an outsider of it, exactly that. That's the only way that I can put it. I know there's all different styles and everything. Yeah. So to me to say this is my most favorite, it looked like an anime of what I would think anime is.
That might mean you might like other anime if you
I know, and I'm also going to get yelled at for we've given you lists of what to watch, and I don't watch them.
I mean,
because all my kids watch it. All my kids do. They watch everything, and so I hear it all the time. But I'm like more, Transformers is on. Oh, another episode of Scooby Doo. Yay! But that's just the way I grew up. So,
all right, Journey to the Dark Head. We start off with, again, terrible first stream for this, because I don't remember people's names. The main character, it starts off with the main character, the one you see on the left here. As a child, she's in a temple which has like 2 mirrored statues at the top, and when it rains, they're almost like force visions that you can see in the rocks. And this is the part where I kind of passed out and I woke up later, but she ends up standing in front of, it's the Jedi Council, right? It's like the same Jedi Council chamber. Do we know any of the Jedi Masters that were sitting in there, or were those all new for everybody?
I
I'm gonna guess they
didn't
were new.
recognize.
Yeah.
Yeah,
them.
for me, it was all new too.
Yeah,
I just love that they were all speaking Korean. Like I honestly, that I
Yeah.
did. This whole
Yeah.
episode was just, when we talk about different voices, this is the
Yeah.
first one that I've seen in a completely different language.
Mhm.
And to have the subtitles on as well to help me, because my Korean isn't the best either. But there's something really cool about seeing a Star Wars that isn't dubbed into that is originally. It's these are Korean animators. These are Korean characters. I mean,
Yeah.
they all spoke fluent Korean. So I kind of love that. Like for me, that gave me an extra bit of a like an extra jolt of like, oh, this is really super dope. Like I'm really
Yeah.
loving this,
Yeah.
right? Like the style, the storytelling style, and the villains and the journeys you go through, and the Jedi Council, because the one main leader, she was like this badass Ajuma who's just like, no, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna send him because this is a perfect mission for him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just, this is, Yoko, when you're speaking to, this is why you love Visions, because it is like completely outside. It's not these characters that we know. And to see this for me was, I don't know, I was really proud. I was really
Yeah.
proud, and made me very, very happy to see this form, this kind of content too. And it was like a kick-ass story too. So
Yeah, it was. Well, yeah, I guess it makes sense. We haven't seen or recognized those masters. I think this is from a period where the Jedi and Sith were still at war. That's like the main part here. But it's cool, like, because the moment I saw her in that room, it's instantly recognizable that it's the Jedi Council chambers or the room. But she goes before the council saying, telling them about this temple that she came from, and she believes that if she could somehow disrupt the duality of the two statues at this temple, it would give the Jedi leverage or an advantage in the war against the Sith. So the badass Jedi Council Ajima that Paul talked about assigns her to this Jedi here, and I remember a name, Tool, Toul, who you see who you see previously as he's introduced.
it's funny because it's pronounced Tol. And every time it sounds like when my parents say Paul. So I kept hearing my name, which I guess subliminally for me, it was like even more of a like, oh, I like this even more. Because it was like Tol.
All right, Ernie, now I'm learning Korean.
Good job.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Who needs Duolingo? But as we're introduced to this character, we find out a little bit of his backstory. His previous master was killed by a Sith, the Sith that you see in this background. We've got this crazy tail, scorpion tail articulation. I can only think in toy terms as one of his accessories. It's so cool, but he's got this kind of hatred and revenge that he needs to kind of satiate in his mind. And how the battle was left was that the Sith, let him live. He's like, he could feel the anger in him. He's like, you shouldn't be a Jedi. You should come back to me. So he gets assigned to this mission, coincidentally, to go with the pilot and go to the temple. And on the way, do you think it's by chance or the Force working its way that this Sith was at the same planet where they stopped for supplies and followed them there, and leads to the final battle at the end? Ernie, what did you think of this episode?
When it all happens and she gets the vision at the end of the vision that she saw on the rocks, that's when I was like, oh, this is everything. Yeah, exactly. Mind blown. And this is how it's supposed to work out. This is what she saw. So it is all just falling into place. But I was into it, like this whole episode of even their bickering and the fighting back and forth and everything that they did, to the scene of him and those fight scenes, like some of them were kind of in the background, and I was still all into it to watch it, like when they were fighting and everything. That was cool. So yeah, I felt like it was a a force type of thing, that this is exactly what's supposed to happen because this is the vision that she saw.
Yeah, that part was crazy. It's the Force vision is the one that she sees in the beginning of the episode, and this is like years later that she realizes this was her journey like the whole time. It was super cool. Yoko, what about you?
I liked the part where she was like, God, you kind of ruined the illusion of Jedi for me. You know?
Oh yeah, that's right.
But like she was giving me Dr. Aphra vibes, you know, and it just like it makes me want. I can't wait to have. I just want Dr. Aphra in other shows so badly that maybe I was forcing it a little bit, but to me, like kind of like how fun she was, and she's like this non-powered character that is so impactful though in the storyline. Like that kind of character, I think, is so. We've talked about it, sometimes more interesting than Sith or Jedi, right? So it was nice to have her end up being so important, I think.
Yeah, and the fight scenes were great too.
Yeah.
And yeah, I kind of see where you're going with that Afra thing. Paul, I know you already see this episode from a whole different lens, but apart from that, like the story, the characters, like what did you think?
Yeah, again, the themes that they explore in terms of the duality of everything and how they're interconnected, because her main mission was that they were going to sever the head of the dark statue. And when they get there, she finds the energy is all blended, right? Like it changes and it's not completely dark. And both statues are sort of in this this symbiotic sort of balance with each other. And that's kind of how the universe works. It's not as absolute as people want it to believe. And again, this is the exploration of self in throughout this entire season. I love it with Tol and him, the darker part of his spirit, that calls out to the Sith master, says, you if you need a new master, you got to come and find me and I'll help you. I'll set you up and stuff like that. And him sort of battling with that and really sort of listening to to his inner self and feeling that pull, but knowing that he doesn't want to go to the dark side, but the fact that you cannot have the light without the dark and vice versa. And I really do like how they did explore those themes throughout. I sound like a broken record and keep repeating myself here, but yeah, it's just again, the banter back and forth between the two of them was great, because you can tell like that's how they sort of show respect to each other by dissing each other.
Just like we do here.
Yeah.
Is that what we're doing?
Well, you only tease the ones you love, right? So there you go. And I think that's a really cool partnership that they have. Them going off is kind of like the end of Casablanca, where they're like, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. And yeah, again, the speeder inside that really cool ship that they had, I thought was awesome. And how they crash down, and you think the Sith guy in his badass fighter is about to blow them up, and then the back explodes, and the speeder comes out and blows off his wing, causes him to crash, and he's still like in the fight because you see him jump. I thought, yeah, it had everything, this episode. So
They're just beautifully like choreographed fights throughout the whole season.
And I have to say too, hearing them bicker in Korean was great. That just for me was just like, yep, that sounds familiar.
Sounds authentic. Like
Yeah,
this is a Korean animation studio for sure.
That's and it is so Korean. That kind of like back and forth is very like, that felt so just familiar and felt like home, and it was just quite lovely. And again, to see that in Star Wars really, really warmed my heart.
Episode 6, The Spy Dancer by Studio La Cache. Please don't criticize my French. That's French, right? This episode is cool. It almost has this like World War II kind of vibe to it for me. The stormtroopers having a day off at a local, I don't want to say bar, that's kind of dumbing it down. What's a proper word for it? Theater, I guess, performance.
A theater, because it was almost like a Vegas show almost.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole center of attention and the way that the seats went and everything. very Vegas show like. So yeah,
Like a
like
cabaret.
theater.
It's a
Yeah,
cabaret.
right. Yes, a cabaret.
Yeah, that's a good word.
Yeah.
More French. Why am I learning Korean? This is Canada. I'm in Canada. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, so in this theater, it's run by a lady who, in the past, the Empire has done something wrong. You find out they've taken her bebe at some point, and she and they have a plan that when new stormtroopers arrive, they plant bugs and tracers on them so they can keep track of their movements and whatnot. They're secretly rebels. They're secretly rebels running the theater. But I think the story just kicks it up to the next gear when she thinks she sees the officer who took her baby from decades ago. And she's like, I'm setting the plans in motion now. And this is when the episode, everything starts going down. And it's great. I feel bad, but I know like people should have watched the episode by now because of spoilers. But like
Just spoil it.
the officer is her son. Oh my god!
Yeah,
She's like, you would have been about the same age.
So good.
Oh my! Did you guys know before that, or only when she said it?
No.
when he had the eye covered, I was suspicious. So you don't see the two colored eyes.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Right,
Yeah.
for me it was the horns.
What, the horns were under his hat though.
Yeah, they were hidden. That's the whole
You
point.
didn't see them until
Oh.
the end.
No. But I'm saying that's why he had the hat on, and then it seemed like when she took it off, like they were gone, like they were shaved, like they weren't.
He took it off. Like when he took the hat off at the end.
You saw him.
Yeah,
No,
There-
I think
there
it was
was
a
like-
shadow, or maybe
there's
like
a shadow
star.
of where they were supposed to be, meaning
Oh.
so he was altered so that he didn't know, and then he was feeling it. Yeah,
Is that what
again.
happened? Gotta rewatch.
Yeah, you see two circles right there. So that's where even because I was fully into this. I love when you're into one and you're talking to the TV. Because I said like you, Kev, I did. Because I was like when she said that, and then she says he's supposed to be your age. I was all, oh, that's her kid. Oh my, yeah. And then when it plays in, I love.
Yeah.
We mentioned it earlier. These are what, like 15, 18, 14 minutes, and you're getting this storytelling to it. Like I had to pause this one to see how much more was longer. Like, am I gonna get to finish this story? Because that was
I hate doing that. Do you do that?
Yeah, I had to because I didn't want it to be cut off. Of just
I don't want to know. Like I'm like, it's about 3 minutes.
That's almost
left,
a spoiler. Yeah.
but yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I'm laughing at
I had to.
15, 18, 14.
That's numbers.
You know why? Because I was looking at him because I was in the car, so I'm like, yeah, I have enough time. Like I'm like, I need to dedicate this minutes to this episode. I'm clear. Okay, yeah, I'm good. So that's why. That's why I was like, yeah, they're all over the place. Yeah. So this one was, oh my god, the whole. Visually, I like how they called them rebels. You know, we're getting that in there. The stormtroopers, that drawing was different. That was cool.
Yeah.
And then to say of what they were doing in the visually, I love that type of thing with the I don't know what they're called, but when the dancing that they were doing with the
robes and the
Like
the robes,
like the acrobatics, kind of like.
yeah, because like you
Yeah.
see that like on America's Got Talent and stuff like that of
Cirque du
those
Soleil.
people.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I'm
it's Cirque
thinking
du Soleil. Yeah, see,
Yeah.
I say America's Got Talent. I've never been
Is that
to
the
a-
American version of Cirque?
No, it's a TV show. And Cirque du Soleil, like, yeah, I haven't been to one of those. I know what they are, but I haven't been to one. But yes, like that. So to see that was cool, and the way that they were able to do those things, it doesn't take you out of it, because you've seen that in those type of shows and TV that they can do all the stuff and the tricks and the flips and everything. So that was really cool too, because it's like it's not far-fetched. That's true. That was cool. I liked it a lot.
Yoko, this episode is, I think it's safe to say it's set in the real world. And by the real world, I mean like the main kind of Star Wars multiverse, right? There's the rebels that we talk about. There's classic looking stormtroopers. Were you able to, did you still enjoy this episode?
Oh no, I think it's different though, because it's not like, it's more like when there's characters or like key things that put you in a different story. You know what I mean? Like even though this was believable in that kind of context of the storyline, it still doesn't tie directly into anything we've already seen. You know, so I didn't get that at all. This is actually one of my favorite ones from volume 2. I love the story. I thought it was just beautiful. But I also just really liked the depiction of stormtroopers too. Like you saw some different looking stormtroopers, I think,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
There was
Different
there
body
Different
types.
sizes.
Yeah.
different body types. There was one that looked like me in there. When it was just kind of cool seeing them sitting in their armor without their helmets on. Like I feel like
Yeah.
you don't see that very often. So it was just kind of cool to see all the different. Yeah, there was. I wrote down thick trooper
Yep.
in my notes.
Well, you never see it really.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
never take their helmets
I was
off.
trying to think. Yeah.
So once their helmets are off,
Other
they're
than the clones,
humanized,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what they're kind of there for, right? Like everyone's at the end of their work shift, just trying to enjoy a show and grab a drink. It's relatable, and you don't really want that in the villainous army that you see
Yeah.
on screen all the time. Paul, what did you think of this one, man?
yeah, no, I loved it too. Again, for what everybody sort of mentioned as well. The moment that really sealed it for me though was, in the end when she grabs the officer who's her son. He says, "My son would have been your age," and she hugs him.
Yeah.
Like that's the big thing. That's what got me. She gives him that big hug, and then she gives him that medallion, that jewel that she'd been carrying around. That was a part of it. Like she puts it in his hand, and then she gets whisked away. Um, and later on, when she says, "Now I know he's out there," like I'd lost all hope, but now he's there, and I know how to find him. And then when he's there and he's like looking at the spots where his horns were, and he's looking at that disc, and it's one of those little hollow things, and it's of him as a baby that she's carried. Like that, like really, really got me. And then the little reveal that she's planted the tracking chip on the back of that, like that, it's just like, I just really love that. Just it so much emotionality packed into all this, and then lost in all this too. None of us have mentioned like there's that younger protagonist who's like, give me a chance. I want to, I want to, I want to prove myself too, and this and that. And she ends up stepping up and really saving the day in a lot of places too.
Well, she literally saved her, right?
Yeah.
At the beginning.
So that those are things that I really kind of, it worked on so many different levels with all these different characters and some of the motivations, because I was really unsure of like, because she was so distracted when she saw the officer, to the point where she just lost her balance and she had to be saved. And then her sort of acting rashly says, "This is the only way I can get closure on this," right? Like she just blew all their cover and whatnot, and they still went back and saved her. I thought was great. All those different elements, and again, hearing different voices, right? She had a French accent, which is I thought is great. Just that international flavor of everything I really like in Star Wars. I just really like that in live action and in animation. It's all fantastic.
This is another one where in like a 18, 14, 16-minute episode, like the emotions, like you said, Paul, it's so concentrated into one episode. But this one in particular, even at the end, where I look at it and I go, I want more. Like I want to know where this is gonna go.
I think this is the one.
Story.
This is the one I would most want to have a part 2. From this season.
Another one that I would want a part 2 of. I think this one surprised me. Might be my favorite episode. Episode 7, The Bandits of Golak by 88 Pictures. Talking about international flavors. This one definitely Southeast Asian themed vibe to it. Accents, looks, just the look of some of the buildings, the local buildings. It almost seems like Star Wars is like taking countries and continents and turning them into full planets. And I was thinking to myself,
that's the studios that they're using. Like this is a studio in India,
right? Yeah, which is awesome. Is awesome. But we've talked about before. Other alien races in Star Wars. It's like which race are they in our world on Earth, right? Which I think it's great. And this is what I wanted to bring up. Season 1 was mostly like I think if not all Japanese animation studios, which is
Mhm.
cool. But this one you mentioned, a lot of different backgrounds and reaching more people out there, more fans. I'm sure, Paul, your reaction to episode 5 was the same as a lot of people seeing themselves in some of these other episodes. This episode begins, we follow a brother sister on a train. Did anyone else notice the train was on physical tracks? I just assumed from the Book of Boba Fett they were all hover trains everywhere in space, but I guess not.
Different planets, different modes of transportation, my friend.
Very interesting to see. The guy who just mentioned, hey, it's cool to see representation for different cultures, but didn't care about trains. All the trains unsubscribed from this channel. But they the brother and sister are on a train, and we find out as hijinks run along that the younger sister is force sensitive, and the brother is bringing her to this place. Was it her? The father sent them there. They said it was like a safe haven.
Yes.
Were the parents dead?
You get the sense that the
Right,
father
okay.
is dead.
So it's not okay. You kind of get that sense.
Mhm.
And as a result, there's always some nosy citizen who's like, "Hey, stormtrooper, that kid over there is doing force magic-y stuff." While the trains are moving, there are also bandits coming to try and, I'm assuming, rob the train. And the brother who is avoiding stormtroopers ends up on top of the train, gets mistaken for a bandit. It's an awesome adventure, but they finally get to their destination. And what the heck? One of the coolest Inquisitors I've ever seen. Like, not because, like, you can see his face. A lot of Inquisitors have cool, like, helmets or
Yeah.
half masks, but, like, this one, again, I mentioned the studio, like Yoko said, the studio was Southeast Asian studio, and you see all the themes in there, but, like, I think the clothes are heavily inspired for this Inquisitor too. And a really cool Inquisitor. And it turns out there's somebody at this safe haven to rescue the daughter, and the brother has this tough decision of, like, having to let her go because he doesn't have the ability to A, train her, or B, like, protect her if more people come. And that to me was like one of the most heartbreaking things in this whole series, where at first I'm like, I didn't expect that from the episode. It's thinking of it now, I'm tearing up. But yeah, it's crazy. I don't know. Did anyone else start crying? Just come on, say yes so I don't feel like it. No, it was
No.
definitely emotional for me. No. Cold.
I didn't know at the beginning of this episode if I was gonna, like, to be honest, I wasn't really into this episode to begin with. I think it's just the animation style was kind of jarring, not jarring, but it was just like, oh, okay. Wasn't a big fan of it at first, just because it my own sort of sense of, like, oh, this is what I find visually appealing and whatnot. But I have to say the story really just kicked in for me, and then again, once I got used to the visual styling that they were using, became like, this is quite an enjoyable episode. And again, like you say, that the ending, like, so much heart in that, and the bandit king and that the little role playing thing that they have with each other is just so touching. And again, it's choices about leaving where you're from, leaving what you know, leaving what people that you love behind, and moving forward. And we had the different, like, with the banshee one, or the screeching one, where she felt guilty about leaving her friends behind because she was going off to sort of for a better life for herself because she needed to get away, right? And then there's a bit of that doubt. It's like, should I be doing this, leaving all of her friends? Where some of the other stories you see when they're leaving, it's like, I'm gonna miss you, but I know I'm going off to someplace better, and I've got your support for me to go, right? Like, I that's what it is. In that second episode, her friends didn't want her to go. They're like, no, you should stay with us. And she's like, no, I'm gonna go. Whereas in every other element when they go. It's like, no, go. You need to be free. You need to do this. You need to do that. So yes, there's that part of, okay, I'll miss my friends, but yes, I'm looking forward to, because I have their permission or their support to go and explore this. And this was definitely one of the cases where the brother was just like, you have to go. You have to, because it means a better life for you. It means you're safer. All these different things. And then the promise of we'll be back. Like when she said, or am I getting this confused now with the other episode? I think
She
I might
didn't
be
say
getting
I'll be
confused.
back. I think she said something like,
They said something like it was part of their game, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
There'll be many more things to eat, or
Something something like that. Yeah.
yeah. And then she sent him the recorder flute back
That's
to
it.
the water.
yes.
Ernie, what do you think? What about this one, man?
Same. I got pulled back into it when I saw the Inquisitor, and we're saying Inquisitor, of course, because of the style of the saber. That was crazy, and then to see the fight that went on between them and everything, that was way cool. I loved how, the brother was trying to hide her, and then when the tray started floating and everything, and he's like, "Stop!" And then finally, she's like, "I'm really not doing that." That was cool because it's kind of like she didn't know better, but she did at that point to know not to do anything. And so when he was blaming her and then saying that, and she was like, "It's not me," we learned, it's the older one and everything. They were at the spot that they needed to be. Was cool. I liked the fight scene in this one and like that. And the only thing that got me was nobody can play a recorder like that. So that was the only thing that really pulled me out, because all 4 of my kids had to play a recorder, and not one of them ever played the recorder like that. So I was like, this is fake.
Sure, Ernie.
You can't do that.
Your kids were trying to play the recorder.
I tried a little solo career for myself. It didn't work.
There you go.
I couldn't do it either.
Talking about the fight scene, those 2 people in that town who they were getting into fights with each other the whole time. It's like, oh, he threw food at me. And then when the little girl used the force and threw food at him, he was just like, all right, it's on. And even once the Inquisitor started fighting and the Force lady started fighting and everyone was like the big brouhaha, through all that one guy was still trying to fight the other guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys caught it. It was so funny to me to catch that one part. So this episode had a lot of high points for me. Yoko, what about you?
Kind of the same, where I wasn't so into it at first, but for like because like in the Stars episode, I was like, great, another younger sibling who's just like being stupid and not listening and getting herself in trouble, like when she stole the flute and was playing, I made me laugh, Kev, because you said that they were being nosy and reported her, and I was like, they weren't being nosy. She did it out in the open, like
Didn't have to say anything.
but the twist at the end was cool with the hidden path under the water, and she called it the path, and that's what really got my attention. When they mentioned
They
the
actually
path.
say the path. Oh shoot!
Yeah.
How did I miss
Yeah.
that? Thank
Yeah,
God
I
for
didn't
this
hear that
stream. Right, everyone?
Yeah, I didn't hear that
Nice,
either.
Yoko.
Yeah.
Oh, but I did notice the Jedi Order symbol on the door
Yeah.
when she
Yeah.
parted the water.
Yeah. So, are the paths all connected? Is this I keep wanting to say War of the Worlds, world between worlds kind of thing?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I thought it was a callback to like in Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
When they're that, like, the underground railway, when they went to that one planet.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. The path.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Because Quinlan Voss, right? I think calls it the path. Yeah.
Damn, I wish I had.
What if they're all connected? All these paths through the world between worlds.
See, okay. No, I
Okay,
understand.
sorry. Maybe I didn't
Sorry.
eloquently say it the first
No,
time.
no, this is me
Have
at
edit that.
11:30.
The path to the next episode, episode 8, called The Pit.
Yeah.
Nice. I like when we say it at the same time. It's like an alien voice. By Lucasfilm, and I want to say this is French, but I'm also thinking of the toy line D-Art, but it's Lucasfilm and D-Art Shitagio?
Stagio.
Thank
Stagio.
you. This
It's
is why.
Japanese. It's studio in Japanese. Stagio.
Oh, that's studio. Nice.
I think it's supposed to be like,
See, we have enough
like a cute.
we have
like a cute-
diversity on
We
this.
have.
channel.
We do have diversity
We're
on this channel.
diverse. We're diverse.
And I thought we were getting a Boba Fett episode.
Oh, the pits.
He
Yes.
put it down.
You
Very
guys did
good.
not think that? I did
No.
immediately. I was like, yes, a Fett episode. I
don't
didn't even
think
care it was called the pit.
It would
I
have
don't
just
think
been
about
him.
at all.
It would have just been him crying in his armor.
Just,
That's it.
just laying there.
So I seriously did. I saw it, the pit, and I thought we were going to get another different representation of him escaping the pit. I honestly did. And then it immediately goes to this, and I'm like, oh, it's not Boba Fett.
I was gonna say something about using more studios from around the world and Koreans seeing representation, and then I was like, is Ernie gonna say there's some sort of Boba Fett representation? And not only did you nail it, you said the exact word representation. I'm like, well, that's perfect. That is perfect. The Pits, a much, I don't want to say much darker. Would you say it's darker? Like some of the other stories are sad, but
This was a dark episode for
Yeah,
sure.
I mean,
Was.
yeah, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
It's not just me.
No.
Prisoners, we don't know where they're from, are brought in from the Empire. We don't even know if they're prisoners or criminals or anything like that, or they could just be like people from Andor. If you watch season 1, just like random guy on the street who did nothing wrong and got arrested. They're brought in to start digging in the middle of the desert, and they're digging for kyber crystals, which was kind of awesome. And then once the Empire was done using them to dig the bottom of this pit and mine out the kyber from there, the Empire, being the Empire, just left everyone into the pit, or in the pit, on their own. As dark as the episode was, I'm not gonna lie, for a split second my brain said to myself, because of watching The Simpsons, I'm like, dig up,
dig
stupid.
up.
Oh, you too?
Exactly what I was. That's why I started to laugh.
All right.
Dig up, stupid.
No, stupid. Dig up. So one
Oh my god, you broke him. Now I can't say what I wanted to say because it would be really inappropriate.
okay, so there are families in this pit. There's small children, there's the elderly, which makes you wonder, like, they're, I guess maybe they're not criminals, or maybe they're just like political prisoners. I don't know. It really makes you.
I think it's a nod to slavery, right? Like most of them look to be like people of color. So I think that's the I don't know, metaphor that they're making. Like, the Empire just took over some other town, decided that you're our labor now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And threw them in there, not really treating them like people, which I think is what happened.
Yeah, they had them
Happening. Yeah.
marching out in the desert with, like, they were all chained, cuffed up, futuristic handcuffs and chains.
Yeah.
And of course the main character who climbs out, he's black, and his family's down there, his little sister's down there. He's able to find his way out, get to the local town, the closest town, call for help. And this town nearby is full of rich people, and I'm assuming they've gotten rich off their kyber crystal buying or mining, because you see, as the pit's being dug, the time lapse shows this, I think, the city building upward, right, growing and expanding. Right, so people are coming by just to does he recognize a shop or some sort of statue that has the kyber crystals in it, and he calls to these people for help, and everyone listens. But as he's causing a disruption in this kind of town square, the stormtroopers detain him. I don't want to say arrest him, because they just basically kidnap him. And honestly, like, I can't believe this actually happened in this episode. They just threw him back
Yeah.
into this pit that's like hundreds of feet below ground, below the surface, in front of like the family's eyes and stuff. It's one of the darker episodes, and the townspeople are able to find where the pit is as everyone inside in unison shout out, tell them to follow the light, and they're able to go there and rescue everybody. And as they dig for kyber crystals, the brother saved a small sliver for his little sister at the very end, and it's a white kyber crystal, and it turns blue right in front of her eyes. So it's got sad but sweet ending, but overall, it's one of the darker stories of the episode. Yoko, what do you think of this one?
I can't remember if we said it when we were talking about the studio names, but LFL, Lucasfilm was actually directly involved in this one too. So it was they worked on it in partnership with the Japanese studio, and I think, huh?
De Art,
What?
Stagio.
The art Stagio, yeah.
Yes.
So I don't know. I think I'm assuming like this was an important story for them to tell properly, and that's why they were involved in it. I'm guessing. I don't really I don't know how that all works, but yeah, no, this one was dark. This one is not. I don't know. This one's so much a rewatcher, because I don't like to be depressed, but it kind of gave me goosebumps when they're all chanting "Follow the light." We follow the light together, and then for a minute you think everyone just turned their backs on them, when nothing happens.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and there you get that sense like they're all like, oh, but they're not going to help us. They're walking away, and then the ships come in. Yeah,
it was definitely a darker story, but very moving.
Very powerful though. Yeah.
Yeah. Paul, despite the uncontrollable outburst from earlier, what did you think of this episode?
Oh no! Why'd you have to bring it up?
Yeah, no, I'm sorry about that. Because that's exactly what got me was the fact that we thought at the same time, and I knew we were thinking the same thing. And I was gonna say dig up, stupid, and then you said it, and then it just set me off. Completely inappropriate. I apologize to anybody for that. It just it's you're not supposed to laugh, and that makes it worse. Yeah, this was extremely dark. I mean, there were flashes of like the arduous climb up. First of all, was like a suicide climb, and everybody's like, you can't do it, and he almost does fall. I mean, that's the thing. You follow this guy who desperately wants to help his people, and he risks his life, and he goes up there, and his little sister's afraid, so he comforts her before he goes on this impossible climb, and he's about to fall, and then that creature sort of helps him make it up, and it's so hopeful in that sense, and he makes it to the city, and he's trying to get everybody to pay attention to him, and nobody is, and he finally gets their attention. They're all like, what? And they start to listen, and of course the stormtroopers get him, and then it's that, for me, it was that horrible moment where they're like, he's just waking up.
Oh god.
And they're like, the one, the two, he's like, what? And I thought he was gonna break out of it or something, and it doesn't happen, and he wakes up just as they toss him off that thing all the way down, and that crushed me. That was just so horrifying, and everybody around him, and then it's just like, of course he doesn't survive it. Nothing saves him, and that for me was just so jarring. The fact that you expect him to go to the city and have all the rich people not listen to him and something, but to have him hauled back to the pit and just tossed in there like garbage and then die was horrifying
in front of his family.
It was, that was disturbing on all these different levels. It was horrifying, but then that little spark of hope, like out of that tragedy, his sister taking his words to heart and then leading that chant, and then having the people of the city come all the way out and take action, and then the stormtroopers trying to stop them, but they're powerless because that's an entire city worth of people, and they don't fight the stormtroopers. They just push past them. They just kind of ignore them, which is what I love too. was the fact that it's passive resistance. You just sort of go through, non-violent. And then the whole, like, they're all looking down. And then you're right, Yoko, when they disappear, you think, oh, God, what's going to happen? And then the ships start to come down. I thought was just such a powerful moment. But that was a hard episode to watch with all the stuff that had happened. And it didn't go the way that I expected it initially. But in the end, it did sort of like, the way it played out. But some of the things that like that pit was so deep, and all those families, they had families down there too. And there were some people in the pit who were like, no, it's fine. We'll just stay here. It's like, but you're going to die. How are you supposed to eat? Where are you getting your food from? Like, you'll just stay there. It's fine. And then the other thing for me was like, they still had tools, right? Couldn't they dig up?
Yeah, that's what
like they could have dug up.
I don't know.
Stairs.
Who knows what they were left with, though, right?
Can you like get
there must have been some food.
two of the picks and then kind of go like
just, or even do a little ledge all the way around, right? Like just sort of
right.
Anyways, it's neither here nor there, but it was just like one of those things during the moment when I was
bathrooms. How did they go to the bathroom?
Well, exactly.
It
Right?
was all there.
dig another pit.
They left them there. Yeah.
You dig another pit in the corner.
Oh, okay.
It's not a corner; it's a circle.
But yeah, I was shook by that episode.
No doubt. Ernie, what about you, man?
Same. Just a wow episode, right? Very dark. What did it for me was the when they pulled out the sheet to cover him.
Yeah.
Because already when they threw him in, right? I'm like, oh my God. And then it's the whole, they're not going to do that, And then they bring out the sheet, which, starts the sister. And I was like, wow. It really makes you think it was crazy. It was also very crazy to put the Empire side of it, because that's what we know, right? Stormtroopers and Empire, that they are that dark, not caring, not anything. It was just for their own. They even kept saying of how rich they were going to be off of it. Yeah. And they built that city and everything, and how high he was going to be up the main one, talking and everything. So that really pushed it. And then when I saw them in the pit that they already had tents, because I was like, wow, they're leaving them there. When they left, they had already been doing that. So I think that's what it was for those older ones of, this is the way we've been living, because, they went on normal. They were eating and they had their tents up, and it was their own little town down there for work. So for him to climb out, I did think Bane from Batman, you know, that whole climbing episode and them chanting. Then after, it's hard when you're a person like that, movies get into your head. So I was thinking that, and then he went to the city and they didn't listen. The stormtrooper still there was a surprise to me. I didn't imagine seeing them. I thought we were going to see the rich just ignore him, even when he stood up on the stage and started to try to get their attention. So it was really something to see, like, wow, the Empire's still there. I wasn't going to get that. And then they called for help. And so that part of them pushing through, that we outnumber them, it doesn't matter. That was crazy. But then it was the same feeling too of when they left. I really didn't think the ships were going to show. I was like, wow, this is super dark. We're not getting any help for them. They saw they're just okay. So when they did, that was the ship's landing was really a big breath, a sigh of relief of like, okay, they do get it, they do understand. But it was a lot. It was really emotional scene during the whole thing. So it was one of those two. It's going to be a hard rewatch, but wow, what a story type thing,
Absolutely. Fortunately for the viewers, I think, or us, it's a much brighter episode. Episode 9 by Triggerfish, Awu's song. Awu is the main character you see here. She lives on a planet where her father mines for Sith kyber crystals. They're all red, and a Jedi comes frequently to get these crystals from her father so that she can turn them into light side crystals. And we know, like, that takes, it's a
To
whole
purify them. Yeah.
purify them. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a whole kind of like trial, almost like a mission for Padawans to obtain their crystals sometimes, get their lightsabers. But when the Jedi is there, we hear Awu sing, and her voice causes a reaction to these kyber crystals. And another small child in this season that doesn't listen to her father or guardian follows her father into a cave because which he's told her to stay out of. Her voice, like the kyber crystals are reactive to her voice, and one almost blew up in his hand. So she finds a whole cave full of kyber crystals. It was almost like it was calling out to her. She goes in, starts singing, and the entire mind starts reacting, and they're ultimately saved by the Jedi. And the Jedi can see that Awu has force sensitive abilities. And another episode where, like, making that tough decision, the father's like, you gotta go. If you gotta go do this, you go with the Jedi Master, and that's your new path. That was another hard one to see, but it was still a lot of fun. A lot of cool creatures, and very bright and colorful. Yoko, I know this one was one of your favorites, if not your favorite.
Yeah, I think it might have been my favorite. And I said this to somebody else too, but I was like, I've never wanted to like touch a Star Wars more than this episode. Like all the textures and everything.
Yeah.
I wanted to touch it. But no, I love the colors. Oh, Larry, sorry. I love the especially I think, in juxtaposition with the previous episode, like the colors and the texture and the brightness was just like it was nice. It was nice. But I also love kyber crystals, and I love the story of kyber. I feel like I love any episode about kyber crystals, really. Well, again, except for the last one. Not that you know what I mean. But unless it's depressing, But
how quickly we forget.
I love the lore, the lore behind kyber crystals. So, like, like how did this planet get full of all these super Sith crystals, and how this, why was she chosen to have this power, this ability to be able to purify them? Like, I think that's really cool. And I do feel like there's more story there too that I wish they would share with us. But
yeah, that was a cool one. In one song, she was able to purify like the entire mind and kind of settle it from. It was angry, right? The mind was angry. Was it going to blow up, or it was just reacting to her voice? Like, it was almost like a living, sentient thing at that.
Plus, one more thing was like, like her dad. I think her dad was great and was just looking out for her, not understanding her abilities. But to me, like, the message a little bit was like, you shouldn't really be afraid to be who you are, kind of thing. Is what I was feeling like, and I don't want it to be like the dad was holding her back or something, because I think he really was genuinely looking out for her, thinking that it was going to hurt her, not realizing that he was actually holding her back.
Yeah, that's, for a second I thought like maybe he kind of had a hint, like he knew that she had this kind of way with the crystals, and he's been trying to keep her away from the Jedi, because when she was there, he'd always be like, I told you to stay away. To me, I got it. Maybe I'm reading into it that he was trying to keep those worlds from colliding, of her.
Oh, because he didn't want the Jedi to take her?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe that's just me as a father. I'm going to pass it over to you, Ernie.
I enjoyed this one a lot. It was cool. There was questions like how we're questioning it now. So she couldn't talk at all, right? That's why she covered her mouth, because if she talked, it would have caused a reaction to like the crystals. He just knew the crystals, right?
I don't think I got that sense.
I don't know.
I didn't think she talked at all. She always covered her mouth and then nodded and everything, if you watch it. And then when she finally, when she gasped, when she was peeking in on them, him and the Jedi, and it blew up in his hand because it of her voice, her song, right? And then it was calling to her, and she went in there. And when she started singing, everything changed. I felt that she didn't talk at all. It was something that he knew was didn't know how it was, but he was still there to care for his daughter, type thing is what I saw. I love the moment of where she makes a decision to go with the Jedi, and it showed them sitting on the ledge, because I really did think that she stayed with her dad and they were having the treat, and then she got up to go. It was like her way of, give me one last memory, and I have to say bye.
But then she ran.
Yeah, she did. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay, I got my memory locked in. Thanks,
Yeah.
Dad. And then she ran over there. So it was very cool. I would love to see this. I felt not in a bad way at all. I felt like this was very video gamey, like Sonic. Like this is something I would want to play to see the levels of what happens next. You know, didn't it seem like mission wise, like you had to do this? The way that she jumped to the ledge and they knew everything. Like this scared me, the heights. I'm scared of heights. So to see that she just kept jumping everywhere. Another one where I was yelling at the TV, like, stop. You're going to hurt yourself. Why are you keep jumping on all these ledges? You know, from the very beginning of her just with her back to that small ledge, I was already scared. I was like, okay, something's going to happen. But it was a very cool episode. But I took it as she didn't talk at all because her power.
You might be right, because she did have that
around her mouth
thing around her. Yeah.
Paul, did you get that sense that she, like, any voice or anything coming from her?
No, I have to admit that's a really stunning revelation, because I assumed that she had a conversation. She had a few words with her dad, at least when they were together and stuff. So
wow, Ernie.
Yeah, like good for you, Ernie. Like I'd have to rewatch, but I mean, if I rewatch and she says something, you're going down in flames, dude.
For
just trying to plant that seed and make yourself look smarter than the rest of us. But if that's the case, I'll tip my hat to you. But if it's not, you're going to be mocked till my throat is sore. I love this episode. I really did too. And when she sang, I think it's because when she did sing, it was beautiful. Like it's just so simple, and the way she was just so one at with the elements, and that's what I loved. Again, yes, her sense of spirit and adventure and wanting to explore, and she knew she has this connection, she feels this connection, and to go out and to see her like in that cavern initially, like as she starts to sing, and you see the crystals start, she's purifying them, and they start to implode when that process is interrupted, and it's almost like the crystals are angry because they were about to be purified after being poisoned for so long, right? I think that's the thing. The kyber crystals, they have that they're weeping when they're red and they're bleeding. They need to be healed, and that's the thing. And again, the themes going through of discovering oneself and allowing oneself to be oneself and to explore those things and the light and the darkness and all, just again, this is a great season. 9 episodes, every episode very, very memorable for different reasons. And again, you know what, Ernie, I love that this is right out of a video game. There are moments where like she loses her balance and slides down the hill and has to stop. Does
that feel familiar, Paul?
Yeah, except see, for me, I just fall right off the edge and like start
At least
again.
there wasn't ice involved this time.
There you go. But this was, and I love the dad, like the father, because he was like at the end, he says, you were the first of our kind to ever leave here and to do this, right? I'm so proud of you. And again, this is another theme too. It's familial bonds that run so deep. So that really resonated for me as a father as well. Because it would be very, very hard to let a child go. And he's trying to protect her, right? Like he's not trying to hold her back. He's just trying to protect her because he's only seen up to a certain point where things go bad. He doesn't let it continue. So when everything works out type thing. And that's a lesson for parents as well. Sometimes you got to let it play out, let your kids stretch their wings and fly and have faith in them. So, yeah, no, this is a great episode for me too.
Paul, I think you kind of gave us your thoughts there. on the season overall, right? A lot of familial themes, and the toughness of letting people you love go to let them grow. Anything else you want to add about the season overall?
Yeah, no, I really, really do love the international flavoring of this, opening it up, making it like truly opening up Star Wars to everyone. I think is something that I really enjoyed. I hope if there's a season 3 that they keep pushing those envelopes. It would be really, really cool to see other nations, other animation studios from all over the world tell their stories in the Star Wars universe. Really loved hearing the different voices, the different styles of storytelling too. Visually, it was very, very pleasing and exciting. And I feel like I learned a lot too, and it makes me curious to explore these other countries and their animation styles and what they do. Your mic
I
is on.
agree. Oh,
Oh, damn! I should just let Yoko go with agree.
I know. I was going to say,
Agree.
I agree. I'd also love to have some sequels, though, to a few episodes from Volume 1 and Volume 2. But I don't know if we'll ever get that, any of these continued stories
Yes.
would be great. But I do love seeing these different worlds that we've never seen before, but still telling the story of choosing your own path and finding balance and, all that stuff.
Yoko makes a good point. Let us know in the comments below which episode you would want to see a sequel of, a continuation of, or let that story play out, because there are definitely a few for me this season. Ernie, what about you, my friend?
Yeah, same. And this is a lot about a season 2 is sometimes they don't come as being called better than the first season. And I felt that this season 2 was so much better than the first season. I had to keep watching them all. So every story had me into it because I wanted to continue to the next to see what other style there was going to be. And it did seem like that Sith themed. I mean, the first Visions was blue. This one is red. And that's how we do play it is, light and dark and everything. So to see that there was a lot of Sith stories in here and making the choice, it always is how you depict it and the choices that you have to make. It may not be considered bad depending on the way that you look at it, that it is to you. And all these different stories that showed the growth and the choices that you had to make. And still, in a lot of them were still very family orientated, was great. Like Paul said earlier of, the dad was just really trying to support the daughter, and I think that's good of showing a lot of these did support and the hard decisions that have to be made to let somebody to go to choose their own path, even though it may not seem like the right one. You have to let people go through that and see what it is. So then on to Yoko's is I would love to see some of these continue and from season 1. What I'd hope that we get is maybe a third season of something completely different, something of both, maybe right in the middle, and like a season 4 of those 3 seasons of a continuation of some of the stories. That would be amazing. Hopefully that would be good. But I enjoyed it a lot, so much.
Yeah, man, I would love to see, I think, like everyone has said, a continuation of a lot of these episodes, and also more studios get involved, because I always see it as like there are fans out there all across the world who've come out with their own Star Wars stories in their mind, and at that point it's technically just fan fiction. But when they get to officially do something like this, like it's part of it now. It's part of Star Wars. You get to do that, and just the fact that Lucasfilm or Disney like that just opens it up to these people. And on top of that, the quality of the stories that are being told in one season, in 18, 14, 16-minute episodes, like they're so profound and impactful in that short time. It's just like, it's wonderful. And you want more. And when you have the audience wanting more, it's a really awesome sign for the content. And I mean, I wouldn't question it if there was a season 3, right? Like there definitely has to be a volume 3. these are too good, and there's a lot of studios out there that can contribute to this style of storytelling. Hey everyone, that wraps up our recap for the Disney Plus series Star Wars Visions Volume 2. I hope you enjoyed the video. You can leave a thumbs up and comment if you liked it, and hopefully you subscribe to the channel to come back for more Star Wars content or collectibles related content. Look at behind everybody. But in the meantime, before our next episode, please follow my amazing friends on their different platforms. Let's start with Yoko. Yoko, where can people follow you?
You can follow me on Twitch at Livin La Vida Yoko. I am streaming Jedi Survivor. I keep forgetting what this game is called, so I'm going to start streaming Jedi Survivor. If you're looking for like, skilled gaming content, don't come watch my channel. I'll be playing it on story mode, and we're going to get through it together slowly. So if you want to check it out for the story, then you can come watch my streams, but do not make fun of me for falling down icy hills millions of times. That's on Tuesdays on Twitch around 7:30 Pacific time. And that's about it for now.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us tonight, Yoko. Paul, what about yourself?
You can follow me on Instagram. My account is @AngryUppa. You can also follow me or subscribe to my channel on YouTube, Bitter Asian Dude Inc. Our main show is on Sundays, Fun Boxing Sundays, where I open up a geeky collectible, do a half-ass review, and we chat. That's basically it. You can follow me on Twitter @Bitter Asian Dude as well. I also do have a Twitch channel, and if you want to see me fail miserably at Jedi Survivor, I will not be playing on story mode because I open up the mockery, myself up to the mockery because I am a sadist.
Oh, I still get mocked.
Yeah, but not as much as me because I truly suck at this game, and there will be swearing. And I still haven't finished the first game. Anyways, you can just edit that one part out, the Twitch part out. I just want to have fun with the Yoko. But yeah. So you can follow me on those channels. And yeah.
Cool, man. Thanks so much for your input tonight. Thanks for being here. And of course, Dig Up Stupid. Hey, Ernie, what about you, man?
You can find me on all social media at The Fallen Fett. Wednesday nights at 6 p.m. on my channel on YouTube, The Fallen Fett Chronicles. Immediately following that with Star Wars Talk with the Sarlacc Digest podcast, and Thursday nights with the Toy Migos for Toy News with They're Not Dolls. And then when Boba Squadron pops back up.
Heck yeah. Thank you so much, Ernie. It was this was a lot of fun. Thank you, of course, Yoko and Paul as well. Again, if you like this video tonight, please like, comment, and subscribe. There's more Star Wars content here on the channel, collectibles related stuff. I usually stream Unboxing Thursdays every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern. And of course, everyone have a great night. Keep toying around, and may the 4th be with you.
The hell is that?
I was gonna go 4, and then I was like, "This is 4." I
thought you were doing Tiger Palm. I was like, yes, let's go. I choose green.
What?
I do drunken style.
Okay. Nice.
Why'd you do this to me?